Well, the Democrats are having an absolute meltdown again, this time because the ICE is doing what you voted for, deporting illegal aliens, and people like in California and New York are now trying to impede and stop ICE agents and also calling for violence against law enforcement. We're going to cover that and a whole lot more tonight here on the Cash Loren Show. But I want to take a quick sidestep, and especially with the now that we are now on TikTok, as we have started. Let me switch this over just a little bit. It goes that way. There you go. And we have now we're live on TikTok, and part of the subjects that we talk about on the show are, of course, their politics, and so the people have very strong opinions on those. And TikTok, like many others, have their side that is left and the side that is right. And I'm bringing this up because what I've started to do now is that we'll go over to TikTok and we'll start about a half hour earlier before the live show starts. And doing that in with spaces, and then we'll bring people on and we'll talk to them about whatever's going on before we start the live show. Now, part of why this is such a big deal and why I'm bringing this up now is because we get attacked by the left, especially on TikTok, more than anybody else. So I started the show as normal, and then all of a sudden what happens is your live just goes poof, just gone. And you have been, violated terms of service. And your account gets shut down. And the live gets immediately stopped. I have done nothing wrong. But the left, they will attack the shows like this just for coming and trying to speak to you the truth. Because they think the fake news networks like MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, see all of them are on the team Democrat. They are all in the bag for the DNC. And for a very long time, these so-called journalists are really are activists for the Democrat Party. And then they use fake experts to lie to you, the American people. And now we are calling that out. And that's why my live was shut down. It's because I was talking about the economy and how all the experts had lied to you, the American people, about how if Donald Trump got elected, how everything was going to collapse and it was going to be chaos. There was going to be recessions. But the experts, of course, lied again. Right in the middle of talking about it, poof, gone. And to TikTok's credit, because being as a conservative, it's very normal to get attacked by the left. And the so-called left, right, the so-called freedom of speech is only for if you agree with them. Or when they talk about how, you should respect everyone's opinions. Well, unless you're not part of the sheep's opinions, right? If you're not repeating 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, then all of a sudden you must be a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe or white nationalist, an extreme MAGA Republican. And then for safety, you must be silenced. But in reality, it's not us that are doing the misinformation or disinformation. It's the fake news networks and their experts. And to TikTok's credit, they're very quick about it. As we've only been live on TikTok, I think, for just over 2 weeks now. And we just went on live on Facebook this week. We finally got approved. So for those of you watching on Facebook, it's good to have you with us too. Especially those on TikTok. We're very excited to talk to the younger generation. But part of this moving forward is that this makes the left jealous because they don't want voices like this to be heard. As I was talking about right before the shutdown, before we went live on this show, is that the show on TikTok and the channel is growing at a very rapid rate. It's the second fastest growing behind X right now. So on X, we average about 10,000 views in the first 24 hours on X. Last month, it was 10,800. We had over 217,000 views in a single month. Now on TikTok, at the end of the lives, we then get a report that says, how many people viewed in, how many people stayed in the show, how many likes did you get, how many comments did you get, what is your percentile? And the show, every single day that we've been on for a show that is the size of the Cash Loren Show, we have been at the 90 percentile. In fact, yesterday, We were the #1 show for our range, our branch. I mean, we're obviously not up there with the huge shows, but for one of my size, we were the #1 show. We had the 100th percentile in views, in average listeners, likes, 100% in all of them. In every live show that we've done, we've been in the 90 percentile. So thank you very much as this continues to grow and over you TikTok. It means a lot to me. And part of this, as we go and we expose all what's happening in the fake news and the Democrats and the uniparties, is the left tries to get us shut down. Now, I don't fully understand how TikTok works. I'm kind of learning it as we go. They just, I used to just post shorts there and the count started to grow. And then one day I got a message from TikTok. Hey, would you like to go live and go monetized? Like, well, of course I would. And set it all up. And here we are. Now, from what I can tell happens is we'll be talking and the show will start to grow. And then all of a sudden some leftists come in there and I think they do some kind of like mass report as far as I know. And if they do enough reports, what happens is you just get shut down. And not only do you get shut down, you lose all your access to the live features. And of course you can appeal and that's normal. I mean, on TikTok, I probably appeal almost every day to something happening on these, and I win 99% of them. I think I've only permanently lost one appeal in the whole time I've been on TikTok. And I'm not going to talk about that because I don't think I did anything wrong then either, but I don't really want to get a strike on that again. But this is the same thing's happening. Is the week we've been on TikTok, we've already been shut down twice for these mass. I'm assuming that's what they're doing. I'll have to dig into it deeper, but I think what they do is they report, and there's enough reports, it just shuts down. Then you appeal, and then to TikTok, to them, thankfully, they will quickly reverse it. So in a PG version, go MAGA yourself, lefts, because we will not be silenced, ever. We fought too hard for our country. We are going to save our country. Because this is the last place in the world. If the U.S. falls to the Democrats' communism, then this is it. It's game over. There is nowhere else to go in the world that has our freedoms, that has American exceptionalism. And it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what your background is. Here in the United States, there is a chance and an opportunity for you to make something out of your life. And it's not easy. It's very, very hard. This is our big battle against the left. When we talk about like American exceptionalism, how much we love this country. Because the left wants you to be dependent on them. The entire left, at the very center of their worldview is hatred, anger, and bitterness. And they believe that the United States is evil and that capitalism is bad. And that the United States, it has blood on its hands that you can never, ever wash off. I mean, that's how the left thinks. And they believe that because they are so righteous, that you have to give up your rights to them, to the Democrat Party, and that they will rule over you. They will decide what's best. But that is the exact opposite of the very heart of America. And that's why the Democrats, even when they have a built-in like 34% tile, they're actually all the way down to 17% or 19%. But really, it's probably much, much lower than that. Because there's something about America. Right? There's something just about the way that we feel and we believe. There's something built into this guarantee of the right to pursue happiness. In America, happiness is not guaranteed. In fact, you can be as miserable as you want. I mean, ask all those purple hair whales out there who scream all the time. Or ask the Democrat Party that's made out of miserable men, weak, and then angry, miserable women. And that's the Democrat Party, as opposed to ours. You have the right to pursue happiness, but you're not guaranteed happiness. And that is in the very heart of the American way of life. That is our exceptionalism. See, it's actually capitalism that has grown the greatest country this world has ever known. This is why, however long that you want to believe that humans have been on this planet, 3,000 years, 6,000 years, 10,000 years, it doesn't, the exact number, whatever case that you want to believe in there. But the reality is that the very tiniest fraction, the last couple hundred years, has more advancement in the human race than has been in thousands and thousands of years. And that's because of capitalism, and that's because of merit. That's what most of people here, and that's what a lot of people here in the United States, they actually come to aspire to, where we want like legal immigration to come to this United States. Like my parents. My grandparents were immigrants, and my parents were their children. And they came to this country legally. So I'm actually the first person in my family that was born here as a U.S. citizen from legal immigrants. There's a certain pride to be part of this country. And as we've gone on this very far side story, what was happening with X, I hope you, and what happened with TikTok before the show went live, see a lot more people going on in. And so real quick recap before we get into this next part of the story. What happens, we've been going on TikTok for about a week now. And then on TikTok, we'll start a half hour early before the show. So the show starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. We go live on TikTok at 7:30. And just talk about some stories. Now people come up on stage and we'll have a conversation. But part of that too is the left will mass report it. And that caused it to get shut down again today. I won the appeal and we're back. But it's happened twice in a week. And it's saying on TikTok, the show is the #1 show for an account of my size. Every day that we've been running the show, we've been in the 90 percentile. Again, on account of my size. Okay, we don't have millions, obviously. We're not a huge, but I have about 1,300, so it counts that size. And then yesterday, we were the #1 show overall of account this size. The most viewers, the most likes, the most same time viewers, and we're just getting started. And this is through very hard work and through the belief of the American exceptionalism. It is through loving this country and realizing that we live in the greatest country this world has ever known. And we have more opportunity now than anybody else has ever had in the history. It doesn't matter what your background is, and it doesn't matter what your race is. When the left talks about like people of color versus white, they are lying to you. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. What matters is the choices that you make. Something that I don't talk about very much, and it's not that I'm trying to hide it so much. It's just that this is not what this show is about. This show talks about politics. But I think it's very relevant to what we're going on to today. So a little bit about my past and my history. As I told you earlier, that we were a son of immigrants. I was the first legal person born in this country. And when I was younger, I took that very much for granted. And life wasn't easy. I mean, I had better chances than many did. My father was an engineer. My mother was a teacher. So from the outside, it would look like the great American dream. Middle-class home, middle-class life, relatively safe neighborhood. We always had food. We always had clothes. But on the inside, there was a lot going on that no one knew about. It was all the drinking and all the violence that happened in our house. And at a very early age, I became very rebellious. And on that early age, I ended up being homeless at 14 years old. And I basically raised on the streets until about 18. And there's a whole lot of bad decisions there. Some that were my fault and some that were not. But I made a ton of bad decisions. And that was what I'm trying to get to about the American dream. Because this moment, I will never forget, because this is the moment that changed the course of my life. Is that I was coming up on 18, where I've been on the streets. I've been in jails and institutions through about half my childhood. And to be fair to the treatment centers who had tried to help, is I've been in and out so many times that there was no real reason for them to believe me. But I had finally had enough. like the AAs and the NAs, they'll talk about getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I'd finally gotten to that moment. And I remember I called the counselor and I called my treatment center and I said, I'm ready. I'm done. And this is the moment I'll never forget, because she turned to the other counselors that were in the room and she laughed. And she said, you hear that? He's done. And they all laughed. And she got back on her phone and she said, there is no help for you, and hung up. And that was probably the biggest gut punch in my life. See, that was the moment when I realized that it wasn't the police, that it wasn't the judges, it wasn't even my parents. The one person that was always there was me. It was always my decisions. Now, bad things do happen to good people, and bad things happen to bad people. There is legitimate victims in this world. It wasn't my fault that my father drank heavily, and it wasn't my fault that my father beat the shit out of me. But what was my fault was how I chose to react to it, and how I used it as an excuse to make many bad decisions for a very long time. And in that moment when I got hung up and I realized that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, that was the moment when pursuing happiness actually really made sense. It was the first time that it clicked in my head. Even at the time, I didn't know it. And that was the moment when pursuing happiness started to make sense to me. I realized, you know what? If you stay sober, then bad things don't happen. If you go to your job, then all of a sudden you have money. And if you have money, then you can afford things like having a house, like having a car, like having cell phones, right? All the little things that we take for granted. And then when I started going to work and started obeying the law, all of a sudden, I didn't have to worry about being arrested. I mean, now if I get pulled over, which never happens, but if it does, I hand them a driver's license, I hand them my insurance, and maybe I'll get a speeding ticket, and maybe I'll get, a warning. I might have to go to court. But what doesn't happen? I don't get arrested. My car doesn't get impounded. I don't lose my job. See, none of the other bad stuff happens because I'm making better choices. And that's really the heart of the United States of America. That is really the heart of pursuing happiness. See, that is the exceptionalism of our country, is that we leave it up to the individual. That's why our side is winning versus the left side, who wants to say that, no, you're a permanent victim. Because if I listen to like what the Democrats would try to say, is they try to say, you're a victim. And so therefore you should just, be a permanent victim. You should be mad and you should be angry and you should be enraged. And you should let us solve the problems. The problem with the left mantra is that they never actually solve the problems. They always make them worse. That's why you must never give up your freedoms. That's why you never must believe like the snake oil of the people like the Zoran Mondanis of the world and the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of the world that are trying to tell you that you are permanent victims, because you are not. You can have bad things happen to you, but the decisions that you make in your own life will have a vast more important impact on the end of your life. And that's our side. That's American exceptionalism. That's the belief in the greatest country in this world has ever known. That is the belief under our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. That's why our side is winning. That's really why Donald Trump made it back into the White House. Is our side, is the American exceptionalism versus what the left is doing now, is they're being open communists. And they can call it liberalism, and they can call it progressivism, and they can call it socialism, or they can call it activism. They can use all their little isms, but all their little isms, what they really are just simply repackaged Marxism in a different package with a different pretty bow. And when you open that package, those isms under Marxism, they always lead to communism. And communism always leads to poverty, slavery, and death. So I appreciate all of you for bearing with me as we started out talking about the Democrats and our normal stories, and I didn't know we were going to go on a huge sidetrack, but being banned on X again, or being banned on TikTok again, and then having it come back just a few minutes later has I guess letting something up. So hopefully that helped, and hopefully that somebody is listening to this, that helps them change the course of their lives. That I know some of you out there are hurting, and you're carrying whatever you are with you. But hopefully that helps you and helps you learn that the most important thing that you can do is make good decisions. And if you keep making good decisions, the rest will work itself out. And with that, we're going to be way over on break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Democrats and their fight against enforcing our laws with ICE and what they're trying to do for whistleblow for violence against federal officers. We'll be right back here just this brief profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the Cash Loren, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the Cash Loren Show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. The Democrats have backed themselves into a corner on every single issue that America cares about. They're on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue that you can name, whether it be the economy or women's rights, or now on the border and the deportation of illegal aliens. Welcome back to the CASHLOREN Show, everybody, as we will make the liberals cry tears that are saltier than you-know-who's fries. To start out today, this is the Democrats, and they've decided over the last 4 years that they were going to open our borders to illegal aliens. And then when they opened our borders to these illegal aliens, they're just let tens of millions pour into our country. And now they're telling you that they should just stay here and that they're trying to find ways to make them permanent citizens, right? A pathway to citizenship instead of what you, the American people, voted for. I mean, it is what you voted for, right? I seem to remember that being a pretty big issue in the 2024 election. I think that, in fact, if I remember right, I believe that was the one thing that Donald Trump ran on. More than any other issue, he was going to secure the border and he was going to deport illegal aliens. All of them. And when he ran on that, that led him to winning the popular vote, the first time for a Republican in over 20 years. He also won all 7 swing states. And then in addition to all that winning, just in case you're sick of winning, he also gained ground on every single demographic except for Black women. And this includes all of the Latino voters. He made big moves in both women and males. And this is all on deportation. See, the mainstream media, they are trying to lie to you about America and how you feel about immigration. They lied to you for decades, but now thanks to that we have independent creators, we can expose the Democrat propagandists who are pretending to be journalists for who they really are. They are not activists. They are not journalists. They are activists. And when that is not working, right, when they can't rally the troops, when they can't do the main way they advance liberalism is through marching down the street, right? Activism, their 2 favorite isms. Well, then they start dog whistling for violence. And so this is the senator from California. And I'm going to play this clip because I want you to listen to how they do it. What they do is they try to dog whistle you to do their dirty work. And they will go in and they try to dehumanize the people who are enforcing our laws. Or they'll call them Nazis, or they'll call them fascists, or they'll say that they're kidnapping people. None of that is true. Arresting an illegal is not kidnapping. It's called enforcing our laws. But for the Democrats who have been on the wrong side of every issue, who want illegals to stay here in the United States, to them, this is the worst thing ever. Keep being on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue, Democrats. So this is Padilla, and this is the fake news, right? As they go and they try to dehumanize ICE agents, and they're trying to dox them. And then when they go and they can't dox them, now they're trying to demask them so they can dox them easier. But what the Democrats do is they will dog whistle for violence. So watch Padilla and see if you can catch how he's calling for violence against ICE agents, but he does it in the usual Democrat coward way. So listen to this clip and see if you catch how he does it.
Here's my question. What will you do to fight back? Meet outrage with organizing. Meet mass deportations with mass mobilizations. Overcome the distractions with demonstrations. Do everything you can so that 30 years from now, Latinos in America can look back to this moment as the reason they got involved. It starts with us. And I look forward to fighting each and every day alongside all of you.
He's not going to fight alongside of you because he knows he will go to prison. He knows he will get arrested. He is a coward. So you see how he worded that there? What did he do? He demonized law enforcement. And then he called for you, the American people, to rise up against our law enforcement. And then they tried to sneak it in at the end. right? Beginning, he's trying to pretend like, oh yeah, this is just, liberalism. This is just activism. So go and march down the street and hold your signs and picket. But then what does he do at the end? A very crafty, clear way, where I'm going to stand and I'm going to fight with you. They're not that tricky, and they're really not that crafty. And they're going to get people arrested, just like they're doing throughout this country now, because the Democrats know what they're doing. When they demonize law enforcement, when they call them Nazis, when they call them fascists, okay, these cowards, they know what they're doing. 100% they know they're trying to dehumanize law enforcement to justify violence with left-wing radicals. And then when the left-wing radicals, when they do get violence against law enforcement, the Democrats either ignore it and pretend it's not happening, or they lie and they call them peaceful protests. I mean, this is fiery but mostly peaceful. It's one of the moments of 2020 when CNN is sitting there lying about the violent riots that were destroying our cities, calling it peaceful and protests when there was literally fire behind them, a building on fire. And that's how fake news is. And this is what they're trying to do again, to try to stop our laws from being enforced. And in some ways, it's working. Unfortunately, law enforcement is under more risk now. As the law enforcement, they've now had people taking shots at them. And one law enforcement officer just lost his life. Truly tragic that has happened. Absolutely horrible. Never, ever should have happened. But the Democrats, they own this. Just like he said, see, he knows what he's doing. When he's calling you to fight, he knows exactly what he's saying. He's calling for violence against law enforcement, but they're trying to dog whistle it. This is just like other senators and other House members when they refuse to condemn this violence, but then they still call for it. Remember that Maxine Waters not too long ago? When she said, I'm not calling for civil war. I would never tell anybody to commit violence. But if you don't give us what we want, you're going to cause a civil war. See how they dog whistle that? She's dog whistling, meaning she's calling people to commit violence, but they're trying to do it in such a way that it looks like they're not. They're not fooling anybody. These same fake people who pretended to be so outraged about January 6th and the small amount of violence that happened against law enforcement on that day, while ignoring the hundreds of thousands of people who were peaceful, or the thousands of people who are overcharged for crimes that they did not commit, now all of a sudden are silenced when law enforcement are being attacked by these illegal criminals. And now that they're activating all these activists in the Democrat Party, they are now going to get themselves in deeper trouble, because this is now starting to break out in like hospitals and courtrooms. As ICE is doing their job and they're arresting illegal criminals as when they go to hospitals or when they go into court dates, just like they have every single right to do so. And this is coming out now as the data is starting to get released in the Trump administration. They're finding out that 70% of the illegal aliens that they're arresting have been charged or convicted of a crime. They're getting rid of very violent, dangerous people who never, ever should have been here in this country in the first place. And now we are going to remove every single one. And I want to be clear about this. If you are here illegally, if you cross our border illegally, the due process is arrest and deportation, whether you committed a crime here or not. Now, the Trump administration has decided they're going to start with the worst of the worst, and they're going to go after the criminals first, the ones that commit crimes here. But if you happen to get swept up in one of those raids, or they happen to spot you, they're not going to not arrest you. So the best thing for every single illegal alien to do right now is to self-deport. By far your best option. Another thing that the Trump administration is doing that is a brilliant idea is they're now putting ankle bracelets on these illegal aliens, which is really backfiring on these judges who are now trying to release them back into our society. because now we can track them. And for their court days, they don't show up, they don't get a court date, boom, they're gone. Another wonderful idea from them. We're talking about how the Democrats are activating these activists. One of the other things that they're now doing is because they're starting to radicalize all these people, is they're now trying to think that they have the right to block ICE agents. And the Democrats, they made up one day, about 2 minutes ago, that you somehow need a warrant to arrest somebody. You do not need a warrant to arrest anybody. You never have. I don't know where they made that up, but they've convinced their leftist activists that this is true. And this is coming into California. If you saw this story, this is a wild one, and this is what left-wing propaganda does to people. So these are people who work at a hospital. From the video, it looks like it's two nurses. And ICE, they go into this hospital to do their job and arrest these illegal criminals. These hospital workers, they try to physically block ICE and stop them from arresting this criminal alien. Again, I got some really good life advice for people. Don't impede law enforcement, because if you screw around, you're going to find out just like they did, as they both got arrested and they're both going to get charged with federal crimes. And the illegal alien was still arrested and still going to be deported. Their whole lives are probably going to be destroyed now, because they listened to these radical leftist activists who are not journalists, who lied about ICE and lied about the will of the American people. They're probably going to lose their jobs. They're probably going to go to jail, all because they listen to left-wing propaganda and they try to interfere in law enforcement. This is also happening like in New York, where they're doing the same thing. In this particular case, this is ICE agents. They've been going into court. And what will happen, a lot of times the judges will dismiss the cases against these illegal aliens. And when the judges dismiss the cases, then that allows ICE to go in and arrest them. So they've been working with judges all over the country. And then the judges that aren't working with them, they can still do the exact same thing, arrest them in court when they show up for the immigration hearings. Now, same there, you have reporters and you have activists who are trying to block ICE agents from arresting these people. And they're going to get themselves arrested too. Because just like Judge Dredd Holman said, okay, if you're not going to work with us, if you're not going to allow us to go into the jails, we will double down. We will flood the zone. And we will deport and arrest every single illegal alien. These so-called sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, there is nothing sanctuary about them. What they're talking about is that they are not going to enforce laws, that they are not going to arrest criminals. But we are. We're not going to stop. It's not going anywhere. They're going to screw around. They're going to find out. And as they activate and more of these radicals, watch what happens. And now you're going to see good American citizens who get fooled by the left now go to prison, now lose their jobs, now have their families broken up, now have an all criminal record, all because they listen to the left who is lying to them. And these liberal elites, whether they be in fake news networks or whether they be for the Democrat senators like Padilla or any of the others like Maxine Waters, these freaking cowards won't do it themselves. They sit safe in their high, lofty ivory towers, and they lie to people, unfortunately, who believe them, and then commit violent acts and think that they're on the right side of society. The Democrats are on the wrong side of every single 80-20 issue. Every last one. And we're going to talk a whole lot more, including about Maxwell, who's being interviewed by DOJ, and this whole Epstein hoax is about to get blown wide open. We're going to cover that and a whole lot more right after we come back from this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, TRexPets.com is your home for your animals' needs, from their food to their toys to any other accessories. You can find it all over at TRexPets.com. Stop giving your money to these woke box stores who don't care about your values and push all this woke nonsense garbage. Enough is enough. Over at TRexPets.com, they are America First, conservative, loving family, guaranteed to be woke free. That is over at TRexPets.com. Go there today, sign up, and with your $50 purchase, you'll receive a free gift with your order. That is over at TRexPets.com. Put your money where your values are, guaranteed to be woke free, unlike these giant big box stores that put America last. Go to TRexPetStores.com right now and buy your dog food, your cat food, and other supplies. Head over right now over at TRexPets.com. That is T-Rex.com. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the CASHLOREN show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider it and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Well, I called it, folks. I called it right when it broke. That this Epstein hoax that they were trying to push on Donald Trump was going to backfire on the Democrats, just like every single one of the other hoaxes. As they were in office for 4 years, and they did nothing with Epstein. If they had dirt on Trump, do you think Chris Wray and Merrick Garland would have wasted a single second on the boxes hoax or the Russian hoaxes or the impeachments or January 6th? Of course not. They wouldn't have wasted a single second. If they had Donald Trump doing who knows what with you know who's who, he'd be sitting in prison right now. They wouldn't have cared he was a president. They didn't care then. They wouldn't have cared now. Donald Trump would be in jail. That's why out of all the other possibilities with the Epstein or the files or the list doesn't point back to Donald Trump. Or what I also said, what is true then is also true now, is Pam Bondi, she really dropped the ball. When she went in and she handed these fake binders to these conservative influencers that had nothing new in them, calling it Wave 1. And then when she was going on Fox News every night saying how the list was on her desk, and then it never got released. That was a huge screw up by Pam Bondi and her DOJ. And the only thing they really had to do with the Epstein is just come out to the American people and be honest. What Pam Bondi should have done is she should have stood in front of a podium and just told everybody the truth. Whatever that truth was, tell them. Because this whole idea that she can't release the files now is BS, or that we're supposed to believe that somehow Epstein list that Maxwell is in prison for trafficking to nobody. Again, why would we believe that for a single second? No one should, obviously. See, this is a huge part about Maxine, about Pam Bondi and her line, because she caused all this headache for Trump. But I said it right from the get-go. This is a media issue. This is not a Trump issue. And I'm being proven right again. As more and more information comes out now, it finds out that Biden's DOJ and Biden's FBI never even wanted to talk to her. They never asked her any questions. They never offered her any kind of immunity. They just locked her up. And now the opposite is happening with Donald Trump's administration. As the Democrats, the newest lie, the news hoax, is they're trying to push with all this Epstein stuff. Again, I was 100% right on, is they were trying to distract what was happening with Barack Hussein Obama and the Russia collusion hoax, and then Hillary Clinton in her emails. Is now Tulsi Gabbard, who's got to be the bravest person in government, to start releasing all this classified document, proving what we knew all along. That the Obama administration was corrupt and that they tried to frame Donald Trump for a crime he did not commit. Now we're finding out with the Epstein that this was a big hoax too. And I'm not saying that nothing happened with Epstein. Whoever did something, as I dance around it for be a PG show, but whoever did something with Epstein that they shouldn't have done that was against the law with women or with underage minors, they should spend the rest of their lives in prison. Okay, I don't care if they're Republican. I don't care if they're a Democrat. I don't care if they have pennies. I don't care if they're a billionaire. If you did something illegal, then we need to have equal justice under the law. We must have a blind lady of justice. Simply. And the Democrats had 4 years, did nothing, obviously. Now they're trying to blame Trump after Biden and after Obama is coming out. This is one big giant distraction for the left, and this is about to blow up in their face too. As Maxwell, she has met with Donald Trump's DOJ, and this was for 2 straight days. Now she's asking for a pardon. As of last I've seen, Donald Trump is not offering a pardon, nor has he given any indication that he's going to. I think Trump said that he hasn't even thought about it. But depending on what she can give to the DOJ, would you? They did give her limited immunity according to this, which makes a lot of sense. That's very normal in these kind of cases. And they're saying, her attorney said that Maxwell, she didn't hold back. So who knows how much Trump has right now. And then you have like the Chuck E. Cheese Schumers as they're going, they're lying, and that the president campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. Okay, no, he did not. He said he wanted to release them, just like with JFK and with Martin Luther King Jr., but that was never one of his campaign promises. And now we're finding out as more of the Democrats lie, as the Democrats are pretending that they want the Epstein list to come out, and then their own judge blocks the grand jury information from coming out. Gee, that's convenient. Republicans, they want these Epstein files to come out, and it was the Democrats just yesterday who objected to block it. So why are the Democrats saying one thing, but their actions are doing something else? Seems like they never stop lying about anything. For them, they saw what I think is very simply, they saw a political tool to go after Donald Trump. Just another hoax, no long lines of hoaxes to try to hurt and abuse Trump. I'm not saying Epstein overall is a hoax. I want to repeat myself to be very clear. I think it's pretty obvious that some very bad things happened. And that some people who aren't in jail should be in jail. And the very likely are some very powerful and very wealthy people. And if we're going to have equal justice, we're going to find out who Pam Bondi is. And we're going to find out who Kash Patel really is. Because Tulsi Gabbard has shown that she has the guts. Now, will they also show the same kind of resolve? We will find out. If Kash Patel is serious, like when he wrote his book on government gangsters, and he came up through the prosecutors and saw how the DOJ actually works. Let's find out. I hope it really does happen. Because this is 100% what we voted for. I hope the rest come. I know that the Democrats, they're standing in the way of it while they're pretending not to, because they're trying to do a two-pronged thing to the United States. You, the voters. One, they're trying to lie about Epstein and blame it on Trump. And then two, they're trying to do that because they don't want you looking at their own corruption. See what Obama did with Russia hoax is criminal. I think it's seditious conspiracy, possibly all the way up to treason. And we're having a lot of arguments now about what President Obama, on what kind of immunity President Barack Hussein Obama has as being the president of the United States. The Supreme Court who ruled on this for Trump was very, very vague on this. So presidents have immunity for official acts. And then presidents don't have immunity for anything they do after they leave office. So could we go after Obama? Probably. Will they? It's probably not. The way Donald Trump is talking now is he thinks that Obama has immunity, which he probably does while he was his president. But if he was still doing this while he was out of president, and then how far does this go? See, this is the issue with pardons and immunities. Because the way Joe Biden used his pardon power is he essentially said that anybody can commit any crime as long as the president writes a pardon for them, then they're literally above the law. Which is not really what the pardon power was supposed to be used for. I hope at some point SCOTUS rules on this and helps us come to a final answer. But until that day comes, I think probably the most vulnerable is Brennan. As it was Obama, now we know on December 8th, who had the report that said that Russia did not collude in our elections. And when they did that, then Obama ordered on December 9th for Brennan to make up a false report, and this led to the Steele dossier, and this led to the 2 years of hell through Russia. Now here is Brennan being scared to death because out of all the people who were involved in the Russia hoax, he is probably the easiest target to put in prison because he blatantly committed perjury from what it looks like from the documents that have been released now, classified, and then the testimony that he gave to Congress. So listen to him run to fake news networks and him project onto Tulsi Gabbard what he is very likely guilty of.
Gabbard, she may be impaired on the ethics front, certainly, but she's not impaired on the intellect front.
She's impaired on the intellect, not the intellect, but she is, I don't know what he's saying. He's going to accuse her of lying. This is the man that's lying, and now he's saying that I lied. No, I didn't lie. You see, it was Tulsi Gabbard lying about me lying. But the bad news for him and why he shouldn't go on fake news, this is the last thing he should be doing. It's because the documents are out and more are coming. He's setting himself up. But these deep state bureaucrats, they've been above the law for so long. I think that they don't think that they can actually be held accountable.
I can only presume that she is doing this intentionally mischaracterizing, misrepresenting, and lying about what she has found.
Or she released the documents that the Obama administration had. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard did not write these documents. Tulsi Gabbard had absolutely nothing to do with these documents other than releasing the classification on them and turning over criminal indictments over to the DOJ. That's her role, nothing else. It was Brennan who wrote these fake documents. It was Brennan who lied to the American voters. It was Brennan who knew that Russia had no interest and no ability to interfere with our election in 2016 and lied about it under the direct law rule of Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, that's what the documents show. And Tulsi Gabbard says there's even more coming. And she's saying there's shock now. Wait until you see the rest of this, because this is going to absolutely blow your mind. I hope we get justice. Donald Trump won the popular vote. You voted for him to be your president, to be the executor of the United States executive branch. Okay, Donald Trump is the only person in the federal government that the entire country votes on. Senators in the House, that is not true. So he won the popular vote. He won all 7 swing votes. He made gains in every single demographic except for Black women. You want what Donald Trump has. Now it's time to find out just how corrupt the Biden and the Obama administration was. How deep does this rabbit hole go? If you want to see the deep state, if you want to see the swamp, if you want to see how corrupt these people are, you're about to see more than most generations will ever see. Because most don't have the willingness to do what Gabbard did. Most remember, these documents were back in 2015. And they're just now being released 10 years later. That's how little guts these people have. And with that, we're going to end the live show. We're going to continue on to TikTok. We're trying something new over there. So we're going to end the show. And if you want to join us, come over to TikTok and we'll continue on there for a little longer. And then we'll bring up anyone that would like to share their opinions. So if you're over on TikTok, hang out. We'll be back after we end the show. This is the Cash Loren Show. We'll see you again on Monday. Well, independent thinkers, we have come to the top of another hour. The rest of the stories will have to go back in the stack. If you enjoyed this content, take a moment, hit the subscribe, turn on notifications. Most importantly, share a conservative message with your friends and family. We will be back Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Cash Loren Show. We will go and we will expose and fight the fake news networks who have been getting away with lying to you for decades. Our content will always be free, but if you'd like to support more, you can do so monetarily over at Locals at the Cash Loren Show. And there's great rewards and benefits for doing so. For only about a cup of coffee a month, you will receive exclusive articles and you'll have your name at the end of the video, just like these other fine patriots have. If that sounds interesting to you, go over to Locals right now for just a cup of coffee a month and help independent creators stay free, keep the lights on, and continue to expose the fake news networks. We'll see you again on the next episode. This is the Cash Loren Show.